لله نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد قال الله تعالى في القرآن الكريم أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وابتغ فيما آتاك الله الدار الآخرة ولا تنس نصيبك من الدنيا وأحسن كما أحسن الله إليك ولا تبغي الفساد في الأرض إن الله يحب المفسدين. صدق الله العظيم. Respected elders, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. We are currently in the month of December, the last month in the solar calendar. December is also the month in this country and many other countries around the world that most of the money that people have gets spent. Many businesses look forward to this month as it is the busiest time of the year for them. Many people get paid their bonuses this time of the year as well, and therefore spend on what they may not have had money for earlier in the year. What I would like to focus on is not the money that is spent on necessities, but that which is spent or wasted on luxuries. A couple of weeks back we had the Black Friday sales, and now we are seeing the Christmas sales. Many people may buy stuff just because it was on sale, and they don't necessarily need the item, and might never even use it more than just a couple of times. I've come across many articles on the internet warning people not to spend carelessly during the Black Friday sales, and Christmas sales, and holiday seasons, which results in unnecessary debt while necessities are being neglected. People will say, it is my money, I worked hard for it, and I'll spend it how I want to. It may be true that we do have the right to do what we wish with our own property and wealth, but as Muslims we know that we have a greater responsibility than just spending it on ourselves. Spending of our wealth in the path of Allah is mentioned many times in the Quran and is one of the important qualities of righteousness that we find mentioned in Surah Baqarah verse 177. What we don't realize when spending in Allah's cause is that it is for the benefit of the one who is giving, perhaps more so than it is for the one that receives it. We read in Surah Al-Ghabun verse 16, so fear Allah as much as you can, listen and obey, and spend in charity for the benefit of your own soul. And those saved from the covetousness of their own souls, they are the ones that achieve prosperity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala recognizes that mankind would not want to possess certain things in this life. That mankind would want to possess certain things in this life. Surah Al-Imran verse 14 informs us, fair in the eyes of man is the love of things they covet. Women and sons heaped up hoards of gold and silver, horses branded for blood and excellence, and wealth of cattle and well-tilled land. Such are the possessions of this world's life, but in nearness to Allah is the best of goals to return to. People yearn for a beautiful family, friends and following, wealth and investments, beautiful cars, profitable businesses and properties. It is in human nature to have these aspirations, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps on reminding us that this life is temporary and that there is a permanent life that is of more importance. Surah Kahf verse 7 tells us that the material things that we have is a test for us. That which is on earth we have made but as a glittering show for the earth, in order that we may test them as to which of them are best in conduct. And in Surah Qasas verse 60 we see that though these material things are there to make things easier for us here, and they have beauty in them as well. The material things which you are given about the conveniences of this life and the glitter thereof, but that which is worth Allah is better and more enduring. Will you not then be wise? Keeping with the topic of beauty and ornamentation or glitter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we should wear beautiful clothes. In Surah Araf verse 31 we read, O children of Adam, wear your beautiful apparel at every time and place of prayer. Eat and drink, but waste not by excess, for for Allah loves not the wasters. This verse mentions two things that I think most people spend a lot of money on: clothes and food. Before I go further discussing this, I would like to go to a set of verses in Surah Nahl, verses 5 to 8, which reads as follows: "And cattle he has created for you, man, from them you derive warmth and numerous benefits, and of their meat you eat. And you have a sense of pride and beauty in them as you drive them home in the evening, and as you lead them forth to pasture in the morning. And they carry your heavy loads to lands that you could not otherwise reach except with souls distressed. For your Lord is indeed most kind, most merciful, and He has created horses, mules, and donkeys for you to ride and use for show, and He has created other things of which you have no knowledge." These verses speak about beautiful clothes, food, and cattle and horses, which in our context could mean cars that we may have pride in and do up. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that it is human nature to love these and to want these. What is important from verse 31 of Surah 7 is the warning against wastage. What complements this verse well is verse 67 from Surah Furqan, which reads as follows: "Those who when they spend are not extravagant and not stingy, but hold a just balance between these extremes." When looking to buy a new car, we see a car that costs 150,000 rand, which may not have all the space, safety features, and power that we may like. It may not also look so nice. A 300,000 or 400,000 rand car, though, may have all that we like and have even more features than we expect. Is there then any need to look at buying a 4 million rand Ferrari? That would be extravagant. The same applies to clothing and shoes, and with food as well. We can have good quality that is aesthetically pleasing without being extravagant and spendthrifts. About spendthrifts, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala associates this kind of behavior as being in the company of shaitan. In Surah Bani Israel, verse 26 and 27, we read, "And render to the kindred their due rights, as also to those in want and to the wayfarer. But squander not your wealth in the manner of a spendthrift. Verily spendthrifts are brothers of the evil ones, and the evil one is to his Lord himself ungrateful." Everyone values things differently. For one person, 100 rand may be more valuable in buying airtime and data than buying food. For another, the 100 rand would be more valuable in buying food than buying a shirt you wear. Spending money on ourselves or those that we love is fairly easy. The question that I have for me and everyone else is, how valuable does that 100 rand become when we have to spend it in the cause of Allah? Will we give it just as easily? I'd like to now spend a bit of time in looking at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about spending in His cause. The first point is that if we don't spend of our wealth in the cause of Allah, how does it affect us? In Surah Baqarah, verse 195, we find the answer. "And spend of your substance in the cause of Allah, and make not your own hands contribute to your destruction. But do good, for Allah loves those who do good." This verse is telling us that if we don't spend in Allah's cause, we are effectively killing ourselves. I've mentioned earlier that the benefit is perhaps more for the one giving than for those receiving. Refusing to spend is missing out on an opportunity, which is the mindset of the rejectors that we see in Surah Yasin, verse 47. "And when they are told, spend you of the bounties which Allah has provided you, the unbelievers say to those who believe, shall we then feed those whom, if Allah had so willed, He would have fed Himself? You are in nothing but manifest error." Why are we afraid of spending? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assures us that whatever we spend in His cause will be replaced. Surah Sabah, verse 39 reads as follows: "Say, verily my Lord enlarges and restricts the sustenance to such of His servants as He pleases. And nothing do you spend in the least in His cause, but He replaces it. For He is the best of those who grant sustenance." Not only will it be replaced, but it will be repaid in multiples, as the parable in Surah Baqarah, verse 261, explains hundreds of times the value. This obviously is not instant returns, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us about the manner in which we should spend. Surah Bani Israel verse 29 advises us, "Make not your hand tied to your neck, nor stretch it forth to its utmost reach, so that you become blameworthy and destitute." Just like when spending on ourselves, we shouldn't be too stingy or wasteful. When giving in Allah's cause, we need to keep a balance as well. We know of the multiple rewards that Allah has promised for what is spent, but the best way to spend in the cause of Allah is given to us in Surah Layl, verse 18 to 20. Those who spend their wealth for increase in self-purification, and have in their minds no favor from anyone for which a reward is expected in return, but only the desire to seek the countenance of their Lord Most High. I'd like to now look at two examples from the Quran of people who are extremely wealthy. The first example is of who we shouldn't be like, and that is of Qarun. Qarun was of Musa al-Islam's people, the Bani Israel who were oppressed, but is described as being one of Pharaoh's cronies. He was blessed with an abundance of wealth and treasures, but the attitude that he had led to his destruction. We find his story mentioned in Surah Qasas, verses 78 to 81. He said, "This has been given to me because of a certain knowledge which I have." He did not know that Allah had destroyed before him whole generations, which were superior to him in strength and greater in the amount of riches they had collected. But the wicked are not called immediately to account for their sins. So he went forth among his people in the pride of his worldly glitter. Said those whose aim is the life of this world, "Oh, that we had the like of what Qarun has got, for he is truly a Lord of mighty and good fortune." But those who had been granted true knowledge said, "Alas for you, the reward of Allah in the year after is best for those who believe in both righteousness. But this none shall attain save those who steadfastly persevere in good." Then we caused the earth to swallow him up in his house, and he had not the least little party to help him against Allah, nor could he defend himself. His attitude was, "It is my wealth, I will do what I want with it," and see where it got him. Another point that I would like to draw our attention to from the story is the behavior of some of the people around him who wanted to have the same as he had. This type of behavior is something that we see around till today. People wanting to have what others have. About this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Toha, verse 131, "Now strain your eyes in longing for the things we have given for enjoyment to parties of them, the splendor of the life of this world through which we test them, but the provision of your Lord is better and more enduring." Qarun and his friends, Fir'aun and Haman, are what the Quran describes as the Mutrifin. It was usually these people who opposed the messengers of Allah, as Surah Sabah verse 34 and 35 informs us. "Never did we send a warner to a population, but the wealthy among them said, 'We believe not in the message with which you have been sent.' They said, we have more in wealth and in sons, and we cannot be punished." A mutrif is described as one whom a life of softness and ease has caused to behave insolently, or one whom the exclusive pursuit of the pleasures of life has corrupted. A reason for their opposition was that obeying what the messenger brought would mean that they could not do as they wished with their wealth, as the people of Shu'aib al-Islam told him in Surah Yunus, verse 87. They said, "O Shu'aib, does your religion of prayer command that we leave off the worship of that which our fathers practiced, or that we leave off doing what we like with our property? Truly you are the one that forbears with faults and is right-minded." The second example of an extremely wealthy person is that of Sulaiman alayhi salam. He had a kingdom like no other, as Surah Sad verse 13 mentions. Let us look at his attitude to wealth as described in Surah Naml, verses 34 to 37. She said, "Kings, when they enter a country, despoil it, and make the noblest of its people its meanest. Thus do they behave. But I am going to send him a present, and wait to see with what answer return my ambassadors. Now when the embassy came to Suleiman, he said, "Will you give me abundance in wealth? But that which Allah has given me is better than that which He has given you. Nay, it is you who rejoice in your gift. Go back to them, and be sure we shall come to them with such hosts as they will never be able to beat. We shall expel them from there in disgrace, and they will feel humbled indeed." His attitude was quite opposite to Qarun's. He wasn't attached to wealth and saw the gift of wealth as an insult. The next few verses about Suleiman a.s. are quite interesting. Surah Sabah verses 12 and 13 reads, "And to Suleiman we made the wind obedient. Its early morning stride was a month's journey, and its evening stride was a month's journey. And we made a font of molten brass to flow for him, and there were jinns that walked in front of him by the leave of his Lord. And if any of them turned aside from our command, we made him taste the penalty of the blazing fire. They worked for him as he desired, making arches, images, basins as large as reservoirs, and cooking cauldrons fixed in their places. Work, you sons of Dawood, with things, but few of my servants are grateful." And in Surah Sad, verses 30 to 33, "To Dawood we gave Suleiman for a son, how excellent in our service. Ever did he turn to us. Behold, they were brought before him at eventide causes of the highest breeding, and soft of foot. He said, Truly I do love the love of good with a view to the glory of my Lord, until the sun was hidden in the veil of night. Bring them back to me. Then he began to pass his hand over their legs and their necks." These verses inform us that Suleiman a.s. appreciated beauty, not only in nature, but in art and architecture as well. We all know about the incident with the Queen of Sheba when she thought that the glass floor was water. What is important though is that rather than being attached to these worldly things, is that he saw that the love of the fine things also made him remember and appreciate Allah. It is telling us that Muslims don't have to live an ascetic or self-denying lifestyle, as Surah Araf verse 32 clearly states. "Say, who has forbidden the beautiful gifts of Allah which He has produced for His servants, and the things clean and pure which He has provided for sustenance? Say, they are in the life of this world for those who believe, and purely for them on the day of judgment. Thus we explain the signs in detail for those who understand." To summarize, my message regarding wealth is that we should acquire it lawfully, of course, but not be attached to it. We should spend it in the cause of Allah, as that has the most benefit for us in this world and in the year after. But we can also spend it on comforts for ourselves, being careful not to be wasteful and extravagant in doing so. I conclude with verse 77 from Surah Qasas, which reads, "But seek with the wealth which Allah has bestowed on you the home of the year after. Nor forget your portion in this world, but do you good as Allah has been good to you. And seek not occasions for mischief in the land, for Allah loves not those who do mischief." Shukran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.